Okay, looks like we are live, which is good. Just get things sorted out. So okay, looks like just give me a second. Cool. Okay, so in terms of these catch-ups, these are our happy hour catch-ups. We do these every so often, and how we try and approach these is pretty relaxed, to be honest. We just try and talk through anything that you want to talk about. I can talk about Power BI related things. I can talk about enterprise DNA related things. I can dive into a whole range of different initiatives that we're creating at the moment. I can also talk through the content and resources that we've got embedded into the platform, so we can sort of give you a bit of guidance there. So yeah, it's pretty open-ended, and more than happy to take questions on audio or in the chat, and on the YouTube chat, however you like. It's very, very open-ended. I try and keep these as relaxed as possible. We'll go for about 45 minutes or so. Yeah, the only thing I'll mention, a couple of things I mentioned, I do actually have some workmen that I have to open my door for that could arrive at any moment. So I might have to jump out and let them in, but we'll just have a short break if that happens. And also, if we can try and stay away from asking like Power BI support questions, so don't have to dive deep into some rabbit hole that not everyone gets the benefit from. So that's what I like to try and avoid. So does anyone want to kick things off? As I say, you can audio, chat, however you want to ask a question, we can dive into it that way.
Yeah, I actually had one, but I'm trying to find the exact question. Really is because sometimes I go to a customer and I actually do it with the live data, meaning not the live data, but instead of loading the data into Power BI, actually connect it to it.
Direct query.
And I saw this YouTube video last week of this other person who's really good at Power BI, and he really said it's really not a good idea. So hold on, I'll find my exact question and I'll come back to you.
I think I understand what you're talking about there. So you're talking through direct query, right? So
yes, exactly.
Direct query and data import. So the direct query is what you'd want to use if you have a enormous data set where it doesn't make sense to bring it into your Power BI model. But when you do that, so say you use it on a smaller data set, it really restricts you around the formulas that you can write. You can't even create a model. And so there's just a huge amount of restrictions. There just really isn't much you can do from like within Power BI other than make like good visualizations. Obviously you can create very nice visualizations, but from an analytical point of view, there's just not a huge amount that you can do.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm wondering when do you say, okay, I'm going to do a direct query, or I'm going to load it up in Power BI? When do you say this is the way to go? Like when you decide that you're going to take one path over another?
I would do it based on like the performance of your Power BI model. So if your data set is so large that your Power BI model just doesn't work, it takes forever to update, it's horrendously slow, then that's where you would maybe gravitate towards direct query. The only thing there though is that you should try and do as much optimization of your data first. So instead of going straight to direct query, you should say, okay, can I reduce the size of my data set? Can I maybe delete a lot of columns? Can I filter the data so that I don't have, and I'm talking about like millions and millions of rows here. I'm talking about like 7 million, 10 million, 20 million. That is where, Power BI can handle up to 5 to 10 million. It can, if you have a really optimized data set. But once you go past that, that's when you've got to start looking probably more at direct query.
Because in the past, I actually implemented direct query at customers.
Yeah.
And then it was so slow and all this stuff. And then and now a couple of months later, with more experience, I'm kind of like saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then I'm really questioning myself, going back in time. Well, you can't go back in time anyway. But if I would have done it again, I think I would have gone directly into Power BI and not doing the direct query, meaning the
right.
direct plug.
Yeah.
So
yep. No, it's sort of like a design decision that you have to make, and it's an important one. Wherever possible, though, I would try and do data import. That's really what I primarily be using.
And the only time you would not do it is if it's really too large.
Yeah.
That's the only time you say. For the rest, how about the update frequency?
Well, the issue is with really large data sets. If a data set is huge, it takes a long time to update, right? So if a data set is smaller, it doesn't take that long, and so that's that's the design decision that you need to make. If the data is small enough and it doesn't take long to update, and you only update it like maybe less than 4 times a day, well then that's fine. Just do data import.
Okay.
But again, there's no perfect answer there. It's totally on quite a few things.
I know, but just to say that in the past, I probably should not have done what I've done, and I would do it differently now. But that's always the case when you have experience with something anyway. So,
yep, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else have any other questions?
I might have come in a few minutes late there, but when you're speaking about the direct query and bringing it into the data set, versus throwing it onto the system, what I've seen so far, and I don't have that much experience with it though, is if you're doing a more or less like a complex query, a lot of joins, what have you, then Power BI doesn't seem to handle that quite as effectively when you're doing your data modeling. Is that correct?
When you say complex, what do you sort of mean? Like a complex SQL query, or
yeah,
right?
I would, yeah.
So yeah, look, it totally depends. Like if something is complex, and it's on a large data set, a large raw data set, that's sort of just the decision that you have to make. There's no right or wrong there, because first of all, you could try and optimize the query itself, the SQL code. So there's some optimization that you could do there before deciding, okay, now I have to use direct query. So there's that part to it. The other part is, can you like get a smaller subset of data? Do you need the complex data set, the complex query, to begin with? There's a consideration there. Look, it sort of just depends. Like if you can try and simplify things a little bit, then that's always the road you want to go down, because you want to be a lot of the great functionality of Power BI is in the DAX queries, the data model, so on and so forth. So you want to at all times trying to open up the possibilities there as much as you possibly can. So making sure that you can do that with data import, in my view, is quite important.
I'll jump in with this. In my old life, where I was doing Oracle, I used to enter all the data possible into the data warehouse in case a customer needed a certain columns later on in the project. Because sometimes there's a lot of problems to get back this data inside the data warehouse, because I didn't insert there's a certain column which wasn't needed at the time, but then suddenly the customer needs it. And from what I'm taking Power BI, you only enter the stuff that you really need anyway, because then if the customer needs something, you need to go back, but you need to go back anyway. And it's not a good idea to enter all the data that is not necessary inside Power BI. Is that the way you're thinking too?
Yeah, 100%. You know, that is a huge part about what you need to do in the query editor. You know, before you even launch into modeling, you know, you need to optimize your data sets and your raw data as much as possible. It's absolutely crucial that you don't have any, you know, redundant information in your tables, which is taking up memory, slowing down your model. So yeah, exactly.
Or columns that are not needed at the time. So.
Totally. But again, you just have to consider, okay, well, you know, that's where a bit of planning is important too, because you just want to make sure that, you know, you're building reports that will cover as many use cases as you possibly can get. You know, you don't want someone to come back to you and want the data that you have left out, right? So you want to be thinking long term about how you curate the data in your model.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you, Sam.
Just give me a second. Okay, so I have a question from Yusuf. Do you know much about Dex Studio? The question is Dex Studio worth learning? So personally, I have not used Dex Studio that much, and honestly, you don't have to use it. I know that there is a lot of discussion about it, you know, on other channels and from other people, but honestly, I've gotten by for years without having to dive into Dex Studio. So, in saying that, I'm not saying that you shouldn't learn it. I mean, obviously there is some value in it, but you can do everything you need to do in Power BI without using Dex Studio, in my personal view. We also will be creating some content on Dex Studio in our portal very soon. So I'm partnering with, we're just starting to partner with some other content creators. And one of those new modules that we'll be developing will be on Dex Studio and optimizing Dex and things like that. So I personally haven't used it that much. So as a beginner, it's not crucial at all. But you know, as you move along and your experience grows and you want to really dive into, say, optimization and virtual tables and things like that, then yeah, there's definitely a reason to maybe look at it a bit further. And in time, very soon, we will be able to educate you on that as well, because we'll have a course specifically on it. Okay. Is everyone aware of the Power BI challenges, the latest Power BI challenge? So the latest, so this is something to maybe have a look at maybe after the call, but we have two great initiatives going on in the community at the moment. So we obviously have our Power BI challenges. We're up to Power BI challenge 10. And I think this round is on supplier, like vendor analytics, procurement analytics. So a really interesting scenario, something to have a look at. And the end date, I think, is Monday next week, or end of Monday my time next week. So something to have a look at if you want to get involved. Amazing learning and education experience, and good to get involved with the community as well. Everyone is so great in terms of sharing their knowledge. And then also the problem of the week. The problem of the week is another thing that we're running on the forum at the moment. And this is something that's been spearheaded by Brian Julius, who's joined the team recently. And so that's another really great way to test out your knowledge and to learn from others and to get involved in one of our community initiatives. So definitely check those out in the forum when you have a moment.
I actually took a lot of your stuff and went back to ground zero.
Yeah, great.
Did some, I've struggled with reports for a while,
Yeah.
And what I did is I've taken a lot of what we've done already in my company, and I've tried to reapply and make them look, I don't know, bad word, prettier or whatever, make them look a little bit better. Finally decided maybe it's time to just scrap everything I've been doing, not all of the reports. And I went back and I literally started yesterday, and I went back to the very first of the courses. And I'm just going to basically, I just hit a reset, maybe I hit a blank wall, I think, and I'm just, start over. Sometimes, you need to do that.
Yep, and we refreshed all of our pretty much all of the courses this year. So
I see that, yeah.
So there's plenty of new stuff, new ideas, and new features and things that we dive into in some of those earlier courses. So that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't hurt.
Cool. Anyone want to throw up any other thoughts, any other questions? Maybe on anything to do with enterprise DNA. What we're doing, what we've got planned. Anything regarding some new Power BI things. I actually one interesting thing I did see that I haven't dived into this much myself, but it looks like Power BI Premium is coming down to the user level, which is quite exciting. So I honestly have not had time to look much into it, but that's a pretty big announcement. I did actually hear that was in the pipe, that was coming down the pipe pretty soon a while back. I don't know where I read that, but seems like they're starting to do it, which is interesting.
When you say it's coming down to the user level, do you mean they're taking the pricing aspect away, or?
Well, in the past, the sort of minimum buy for Power BI Premium was like $5,000 a month. So that was the minimum, but then it didn't suit. I mean, the whole idea of Power BI Premium is a bit of a cluster anyway. They've just tried to cater. I think they've tried to break out their product so that they could charge a more premium price to big organizations, which is, it doesn't suit everyone, right? There's a huge mid-market and small business opportunity around Power BI. It's enormous, probably bigger, but everyone was priced out of the market. You really had to have like almost, what was it, like 400 licenses for that to even make sense. But supposedly now you can purchase the premium capacity on an individual basis, I believe, but I still have a bit of reading and research to do myself. But, with premium, I think, you can set up, things like you can, the big thing about premium is that you can get a lot of your consumers in, even though they don't really utilize all of the functionality of Power BI, but all of your consumers can be part of a Power BI licensing agreement. That's the big thing. I think also maybe data flows as a part of premium as well. And a few other things, a few other.
Do you know if they will be coming out with when you can essentially share a link? Will they have private links? Because right now, no.
I don't think that's it. They would just kill their business model.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said though.
They would just, they're never going to do it. They would just kill their business model, because if you can do a publish to web link privately, then no one would buy a license.
That's true.
Especially in like a medium-sized organization or a small business, you might just buy one license, and then everyone, that's only $10 a month to Microsoft. So I just can't see them ever doing it.
Mm-hmm. You think Microsoft will get rid of the actual program itself on the computer and just go online all the way? Because it's getting closer and closer every day that we're no longer going to need the Power BI on our computers. It's getting really close.
I hope not.
Yeah, you mean Power BI desktop? It's
Yeah,
actually,
desktop. Yeah.
If you asked me that 2 years, I would have said never, because there's so much functionality built into Power BI desktop. I don't know. I didn't think they would ever be able to. Yeah, because you look at the way Microsoft have destroyed Excel. Excel Online is just horrific, right? And they've never been able to transfer anything around anywhere close to the functionality of Excel into Excel Online. So to think that they would do it with Power BI, I would have thought no way ever. But I get your point that they have been making quite a few inroads. So I wouldn't say never. I would still say it's a long way off. A long way off. Like there's no, like for example, there's no DAX formulas inside of there's no modeling. There's no, that's a huge part of your development, right? And until they work out how to do that, I mean, I would have thought that figuring out how to make sort of DAX formulas work, like write out formulas and things, I would say that's pretty technically difficult, but I would never say never.
Can I ask a stupid question? Maybe someone else has seen. I'm seeing an issue since the September release in the Power BI desktop and also in the service. And I don't know if it's related. I've had a couple other people say they've seen this. When I get into the desktop and I need to do a manual refresh or something, I get challenged an awful lot for security anymore. It used to be you didn't have to do that. And when I go into the service, I have quite a few of my reports that are favorites. Favorites don't populate unless you refresh it at least twice. I'm just wondering if anyone else is seeing that issue. I've rolled back prior to September. It works. If I move forward, September seems to have broken it. I'm just wondering if anyone else is seeing that issue out in the community somewhere. It just seems strange.
Personally, I haven't got. I'm not too sure. Maybe. I mean, if no one else has any thoughts, maybe put that up in the forum. See if anyone has.
Yeah, I can do that. That's no problem.
Another question here from Yusuf: how much have I used the AI Insights feature in Power Query? I have not used this much at all. But it is an interesting feature, something I probably should have a look at in the near future, but I haven't dived too much into it. Sort of just been more focused on other functionality and just sort of more on sort of embedding the best practices. A lot of those features are sort of experimental and aren't totally mature. So I don't just quickly jump into the next best thing. I really just stick, especially with learners, stick to the fundamentals, stick to the best practices, and all of that stuff is nice on top. But we are going to be getting into all of these different topics. What we've found is that there's just so much. Power BI is expanding like you wouldn't believe, new things coming out all the time. So there's been a realization in the last 6 to 12 months that I myself can't do it. I can't cover everything from here on out. And so we're going to start partnering with, we've got a range of different partners from our Enterprise DNA Experts group. And we've got just some incredible experience and expertise and things like that. And so, part of my job is to harness that and make sure that we can get a lot of that embedded into our content platform. And so that's going to enable us to expand the breadth of content that we can provide on the platform. And so, we're going to get into all of these things. We're going to get into machine learning. We're going to get into Power Apps, Power Automate, some of the design creativity that is coming out in the challenges. I want to make sure that, some of that work is getting out there. Melissa is just incredible in Power Query. And so Melissa is one of our experts. And so I want to get a Power Query course from Melissa, because she's a global expert in Power Query and Encode, etc. So, all of these great things we're going to be expanding into in the very near future, which is quite exciting. And it's good. It's good for all of our members, all of those who are part of our center of excellence. We're going to be the go-to, the unmatched platform on all of these sort of analytics and data topics around Power BI and the Power Platform.
How about the machine learning stuff? Do you know anybody in the gang that actually uses it in Power BI?
Yeah, so Brad Smith is one of has been getting involved in the challenges, and he is an expert on this stuff, and already had a chat with him and said, hey, you're really onto it here. This is great stuff, and he's really keen to start providing a bit more structured content around how to actually utilize that in Power BI. So that's going to be a really nice evolution for us.
Because I can't figure out in my mind, when would we use machine learning in where the example would be that we would use that, where I'm searching for a problem where we have a solution, but I'm searching for a problem.
That's actually a really good point. That's a really good point.
Oh, you asked the right question. Machine learning goes perfect with Power BI because you can run a machine learning model and have the model output the data that you want to input into a report of some sort. And so you have optimized data on your BI report rather than just raw data from your data warehouse.
Give me an example.
You have a manufacturing company and you're trying to optimize parameters, processes along the way, and you set up a system to where it's outputting data into it. You're extracting data, production data, operational data, and you put that in a machine learning algorithm to optimize some parameter that you're trying to forecast or predict to see what your output is currently on track for. And then you can identify something that may be wrong or set up something to say if it hits a particular parameter, it shoots off an alarm of some sort. And so if you have a threshold, let's say that you have a threshold, you run a machine learning model and you have a prediction indicator, let's say it's 60%. You have a mean squared, you have a root mean squared log error of target of 0.45. And anything over that sets off an alarm to say, hey, we need to go look at either machinery or an employee may not be performing. And so you set up a dashboard that gets maybe hourly, twice a day, whatever the interval is. And then you set that up on a manager or an executive's desktop, and they get more or less somewhat of a real-time or regular updates on what's going on in the business based on some targeted algorithm that you feel is important for the business.
Yeah, but I don't see it as machine learning. I see it like if the productivity is below blah, blah, the number, then do an alert. So it's like an if this equals that, then do this. I don't see the machine learning part of it.
How do you connect to machine learning? I mean, I know how to connect to Excel or a database or whatever, but how do you connect to machine learning? Is that?
These are all good thoughts, and I appreciate your insights, Scott, earlier. The best way that I've heard machine learning, like the easiest way to summarize it is it's a prediction machine. So you can create an algorithm which can predict something. And it's a bit more advanced than, say, the simple scenario analysis that we have, that I've created a lot of content about. It's a bit more, there's a bit more complexity and historical attribution done to make a prediction about what could happen in the future if this happened. That I think is the easiest way I can summarize it. But I think, Eric, you did make a good point, is that the thing with machine learning, I think half the battle is actually knowing when to use machine learning. I honestly feel like that is a huge part of the battle. And I think that's part of the idea around why we need to create a course on it, is so that you can actually be aware of when you can actually do this stuff. Not only like how to do it, but having an awareness of what you can do. It's very similar in my view to someone who doesn't know anything about Power BI. Well, you wouldn't know, you might go to someone and say, you can do cohort analysis or dynamic grouping. And then if you didn't know anything about Power BI, you'd be like, oh, what's that? How am I going to benefit from that? But once you actually dive into Power BI, you realize, wow, this is actually great stuff. This is actually amazing analytics, which you could never do in historic tools. But I think that is similar to with machine learning. It just takes your sort of critical thinking, your data insight capabilities to that next level. And so we want to make sure that we can facilitate that. So that's probably a next year thing, a next year project, but definitely we want to make it a part of what we talk about.
I agree, because the power of machine learning is its ability to forecast or predict. And if you don't have anything that's relevant that you need to forecast or predict, then you don't need any machine learning. Yeah. But from marketing, from maintenance to production to sales to all kinds of things can do machine learning, inventory management. But if you don't have a relevant machine learning model, then there's no need for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sounds good. I have a question.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Maybe a machine learning, Mr. Sam, right? Maybe yep. If ever you guys build something, one thing I would maybe think of is actually, like you say, inventory, meaning that a particular store always sells out, of a particular item, and mm-hmm. the machine is intelligent enough, if you can say that, to mm-hmm. actually on the next order, like increase the volume of this particular item that is always sold out and just do it automatically.
Yeah, for sure. No, look, there's a bit of planning to do there. I myself am absolutely no expert in machine learning or anything like that. So there's learning for me there as well. So we're going to make it happen. It's just a matter of time. I got a question again on YouTube here from Yusuf. Can I do more videos on advanced visualization? And so he's been through the recent our current dashboarding course, but there's new and exciting and interesting ways that you can create Power BI reports now. 100% agree, and that is exactly what we're doing. I've already had discussions with Mudasir and Alex, who I think are two of the as part of our Power BI challenges, have been producing some of the most incredible Power BI reports I've ever seen. And we're going to be creating a course together on sort of advanced reporting, advanced dashboarding. And that's going to be done early next year as well. So that there is just so much great stuff that you can do with Power BI now from a creative perspective. And I want to get those creative juices flowing as much as we can, for our users. So that's definitely on the cards. Something I'm quite excited to get into. A lot of these things, a lot of these resources are already available on the platform. You can dive into the showcases area where we have a lot. We also have the Power BI challenge showcase now, which is available. So you can go and download any submission from any challenge within the platform already. So don't hold back from diving into that if you have access.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to give you also 2 thumbs up for your podcasts. I've only gotten through the first 2. I haven't had time to get to the one with Alex yet, but it's really good. The one with Jared, I thought, was just unbelievable what he's doing there.
No, that's great to hear. Great to hear. We're I'm loving it. I'm loving putting the podcast together. It's a lot of fun, and we've got some interesting guests coming up, reaching out to a whole range of different different people who, from analysts to managers to critical thinkers, and just a whole range of different things around improving your analytical thinking abilities. That's the whole idea. It's a great content medium for us.
They're well done.
Cool. Thanks, Scott. Does anyone have any questions on platform. So, you know, if you're just getting started with our platform, is there anything that I can run through? Any questions you've got around how I can guide, how to guide yourself through it?
I want to, I haven't had a lot of time to devote to the platform yet. I went through the introductory course, the free one, but then I was interested in the Analyst Hub, and I had seen there the discount you allowed. So I was able to catch up with that this weekend and be able to get that. But do you, I had to kind of search for it a little bit. Maybe if people are interested in that, and that, I don't know how long you're going to keep doing that, but that was I thought a good opportunity.
Yeah, I do actually plan to have a promotion on the Analyst Hub before the end of the year. Just with but we sort of we've got a few different campaigns going on at the moment. You know, we have the 1 month free going, which is what we're sort of really putting out there more at the moment. It's just so everyone can get on the platform, start using it, start getting a feel. But eventually, I would like to, certainly would like to make sure that we can give as best pricing as possible to all those. So all I'd say is that we're constantly working through a few different campaigns, and so we'll get those out when we think the timing is right. But the Analyst Hub is going great. It's going really great. I mean, it's been out for about a month now, maybe over a month. I think we've got close to like 800 people actually using it, so actually signed in. Whether they're using it every day is debatable, but sort of signed in, and so it's good. We've got this week. I'm hoping to release the 2 huge updates around teams and projects. So that's hopefully this week. That's going to add a lot of great functionality to the Analyst Hub, just ways that you can collaborate with others and save different things into folders, and so I think that's going to be huge. And
our Christmas present.
There's also a huge amount of other stuff. We're basically going to double the amount of apps that we've got inside the Analyst Hub, like pretty soon. My designer is sort of my UI guy is sort of designing them all at the moment, and then it will just be a matter of my sort of like other developer making it happen in the background. So so big changes, big updates coming to the Analyst Hub. It's great. It's really great right now, but excited. I'm very excited about what this is going to become, for sure.
Yes.
As it always been.
Can't wait for the projects.
No, that's going to be huge. So I'm getting an update on that after this call. After this call, actually. So my developers live in Europe, so they're staying up late for me.
Just I had a lot of trouble today trying to get into the Zoom meeting, and I think the link that I had in the past was broken because last week's kind of blew up on everybody. And can a new somebody gave it to me through the chat, which was fine. Can we get an update to that, because it says that you were in another meeting, so you couldn't get in?
Yeah, probably. You're probably right, guy. Last week was unfortunate. My Zoom just totally blew up.
Happens.
We start another one this week. So I'm not sure if we keep the same one every time. Maybe we did in the past. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask my team. But we can get it to you regardless. I was given a new link yesterday, so possibly that is the link going forward. We'll see.
Okay.
Okay, let's go for another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll round off. My work have not arrived yet, so that's good. Anything else on a platform, or the Analyst Hub, or challenges, forum, community, events?
So I'm new to Enterprise DNA.
Cool.
And so I haven't looked at the gallery or much of the material, but if somebody has an existing ERP system like Oracle or Microsoft Dynamics, is Power BI an appropriate tool for filling in gaps or using as an add-on tool to some of the existing functionality within some of those types of systems?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it is the go. In my view, it's the go-to analytics tool. If you want to build out, your analytics, the insights and showcase them in a compelling way. I mean, the Power BI is the way to do that. A lot of those tools don't really have the visualization aspect, the analytical aspect to them, like with measures and the model, etc. So, you do have the model, but just in terms of the ability to curate insights in unique and compelling ways for your consumers and your stakeholders. I mean,
so that existing information isn't available already within those systems?
Well, I mean, it probably is in its rawest form in the raw data. But Power BI gives you the flexibility to showcase it in any number of ways. I mean, just you can design your reports to look like anything that you could possibly want. Really, it gives you that flexibility, and also it gives you the ability to the flexibility to
slice and combine
combine information. Bring in data from multiple data sources really effectively. So you just got a huge amount more functionality and your ability to personalize your insights.
And go ahead.
Since you had mentioned Microsoft, we actually use Microsoft Business Dynamics Business Central, and that is actually one of the reasons I wanted to get into Power BI is to be able to extend that functionality. I can be able to access and pull data from from the cloud, but I'm doing it through the AL language. And then that's actually, we kind of started off the conversation by talking about how to, should you do a direct query or bring the data in and then kind of manipulate it. But that's where I'm at actually, is being able to take that raw data that Sam was talking about and then being able to turn it into something that's a lot more meaningful to the end users.
So what would be the best courses, because there are several courses in the platform itself in the Enterprise DNA, what order should I go through those modules?
Just give me a second, I'll just share my screen and we can discuss it.
There's a learning map there, and I really enjoyed that part. That's what you're probably going to show. The learning map.
Can you all see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, so Bob's also on the chat has got a question. Do you have access to all of the training and showcases, etc.? And the answer is absolutely yes. You have access to everything. So the place to sort of start off, this is just for members, by the way, for membership, is portal.enterprisedna.co. And you'll see here that we've changed this around over the weekend actually, just to have sort of 4 in a row. You have access to all of the different modules here, right, with membership. So that includes the sort of beginner courses. These are free, but we have our structured courses that you want to go through. We also have our resources. So we've got demo data, Power BI showcases, Power BI challenge showcases. So you can access all of these here. We have all of our events, historic events that you can dive into. And also we've got our mini series. Now, there is a lot here, right? So we're trying as hard as we can to try and personalize this for you. And this is what we have done with the learning guide here. Okay, so you click on the learning guide, and this will either take you into membership or Center of Excellence. So if you're just a member, you just want to go here. So watch the video. And then what we've got here is there's a video, sort of a 16-minute video on how to use the platform. And then we have a visual here, which gives you sort of a guide around our recommendation of how to navigate through the content. This is not, you have to do it this way. It's just our recommendation around how you would do it. Okay. So beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And then we have
I really like that, by the way, Sam, the learning curve thing there before. That's awesome, because there's so much stuff and you don't really know where to start or, you know, where you should go.
Yep.
Very true.
So
on the other one, yeah, this is awesome. I really like that. So keep up with this.
This will constantly evolve as well, because we've got a lot of new content that will be coming on stream. So, you know, this will constantly be changing. But yeah, this is you can navigate to each different course within here. So you can like click on, say, Mastering Dex, and it takes you directly to the course. So that's one way you can navigate. We also have a range of videos here around how to actually use a lot of the different things within membership. So that's something to have a look at as well. Now, question, Scott, on what I would dive into from a sort of like modeling course to make sure that you are understanding what you need to think about when you are bringing lots of data into your model. It's this particular course here, Advanced Data Transformations and Modeling. I would take this as, you know, after you've done sort of the Power BI workshop, which I think is important to go through first, is to dive into this one, because this will really showcase the possibilities to you around what you can do with all of the data that you have in different systems, and maybe in, say, Excel spreadsheets, like how you can bring it all together in a way that you can understand it. Because what you don't want to do is build this complete mess of a model. You know, you need to make sure that your model is structured so that everything post that, your analysis and your visualizations that you create, can be created relatively seamlessly.
But I'm a Python guy. I'm a data scientist guy. So I can I do that easier in Python rather than trying to do it in Power BI?
I, to be honest, am not a Python expert, so I don't know too much about it. But yes, I mean, you want to be making sure that you totally understand how the model works inside of Power BI. The model is absolutely crucial to getting, if you don't build your model well, everything, you know, around your analysis and your visualizations just won't work. And so you've got to build a good structure around your model, you know, making sure that you have the correct relationships between different tables, that you have optimized tables specifically for Power BI.
Yeah, see, for me, I would do that all in Python, combine the tables that I need, extract the data that I need in Python. I do understand that there's some different things inside of the Power BI model that allows you to customize the report for the user's experience. And so maybe that's what would benefit me in going through that kind of a program, even if I could do some or most of it in Python. Maybe there's something inside of Power BI that I should still be able to know and understand how to build a model inside of Power BI in order to effectively build the report. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. 100%.
Do you use pandas Python mostly?
Yes. Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah. So I've also used that. I think it has its own place, but then at the same time, at least within our organization, I needed to be able to have something where it could be consumed by the end user with, you know, again, very visual. So that's kind of where I moved back to the Power BI. And I wouldn't mention the one thing, since you had mentioned again, like the Microsoft environments. It might not all be the same, obviously, but what I had gone through Sam's initial course, and which was very helpful. And then after that, I had started toying around with being able to pull data out of through the web services in our ERP. But then what I actually realized was that not all of the fields are available that I needed. So then that's actually where I had to step back for a moment and be able to look at some of the coding to be able to extend some of those aspects in the ERP, then be able to get the data back into Power BI and then be able to manipulate it.
Yeah, and it's just my experience. I mean, I'm more comfortable building those additional fields and columns based on whatever parameters I feel are necessary inside of Python using pandas, and other sort of statistical analysis packages that are available in pandas, and that I could just build the data base that I want to use in Power BI. But from a practical standpoint, I think if I understood how to do it in Power BI, because you don't always know what you're going to need inside of Power BI, right? I mean, and vice versa. So I can build a model inside of Python, extract the data, throw it into Power BI, build a report, and then be missing something that's critical to what Power BI needs in order to present that data in an effective manner based on how Power BI functions in terms of slicing and filtering and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's probably good advice, and so I'm going to heed the advice and go through that particular course, and I appreciate the recommendation.
I think Scott, you would actually be amazed at it sounds like you maybe haven't dived into the query editor within Power BI extensively.
A little bit, but not much.
Look, I think you'll be amazed at how intuitive it is to do a lot of the things that you're talking about. Maybe not the statistical analysis stuff, but in terms of extracting data, optimizing it, cleaning it up, merging it, appending it, all of these different
splitting,
things. All of those things are so intuitive inside of the query editor of Power BI. And it's basically this point and click. You don't have to even write any code. And so that is all covered in this course. So okay. I would definitely move that up the list in terms of some of the first stuff you go across.
The main thing there too, it's so forgiving. Just one little X and you go back. You don't have to go search your code or anything.
Exactly. Yep.
Very forgiving.
Yep. No, the query editor is the hidden gem inside of Power BI. I mean, it can just transform the way you work with your. It can take all of the manual, cleaning and optimizing of data, just and totally automate it. It's incredible.
But I spent a lot of time learning how to use pandas, and now I'm going to have to learn how to write those sorts of queries and little formulas.
But you don't have to write anything. It's literally just pointing.
Don't I have to do some calculated columns and say take this and multiply it by this or whatever?
No columns.
Not in terms of optimizing your data, no. Maybe in terms of DAX formulas, but not in terms of like.
I'm probably confusing the two.
Yeah.
How do you normally use your data in pandas? Are you exporting it to Excel or?
No, I read it in from Excel or a CSV or a JSON file of some sort, and then I can create as many different data frames as I need. Generally, let's say I have 5 different databases, and I'll take the data and wrangle and clean the data and get it into a format, find all the problems with the data, and I can create some sort of formula or correction that I need to, and then from there I can actually extract the data to a CSV file, a Python file, or an Excel file, or whatever format I need, and then I could read that into Power BI.
Yep.
But maybe it's easier. I mean, if that takes me 5 hours to do and it takes me 30 minutes to do inside of Power BI and accomplish the same thing, then.
Right. Once you import your data, you start to manipulate it in the Power Query. I mean, it's like nothing really. It comes together seamlessly and very fast. It really does. And very intuitive. And you pull it from place A, place B, place C. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. And it just works.
Yeah. The question that I'll have to ask myself is, do I need the data in Pandas so that I can do some machine learning on the data? Or for those applications where it's strictly a reporting or an analytics type of a report, then it can be done in Power BI. So it all depends on how the organization is going to use the data.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. I think you'll be amazed Scott, once you dive more
Okay.
more
Okay.
into
Thank you.
the functionality.
Thank you.
I really do. Now, Peter,
Well worth your
Peter,
time, by the way.
question.
Well worth your time.
Yeah.
To explore
Peter,
that.
you had a quick question?
Yeah, I have two quick questions. One, what would be your recommended sizing for reasonable applications of machines and memory and cores? Because, to do the import, sometimes it takes longer time in Power BI. So
Right.
what would be like the minimum prototype machine that you would suggest?
I don't actually know. I don't know. A really fast machine. That's my answer. That's yeah. I've always just got the highest spec machines, so I've never really had to think about it. Unfortunately,
I actually think that Microsoft recommends 1.5 or one gigabyte of RAM and like a 1.8 processor or something like that. Most machines nowadays have plenty of CPU power and memory to do it, but I wouldn't do anything. I don't do anything with less than 16 gigs of RAM, but you could probably do just fine with 8.
Well, I have 32 gigs on this machine, so I mean, it's still sometimes,
I have found that an i3 will choke. It really will. I have 2 of them that I use. Both are i7s, and I just brought them to 32 gigs of RAM. I have no issues.
Okay.
And just
Is anybody using the AMD at all? Because I just bought an AMD 3950.
I don't think you're going to have any issues with AMD versus Intel. I think it's a matter of what generation and what the CPU speed is on it.
Yeah.
And I really think that if you're using your RAM effectively, that's going to help as well.
16 to 32 gig of RAM will handle just about anything,
Yeah, I love 32 gigs, but you can do just fine. Most machine learning model or analytical computers recommend at least 8 gigs, if not 16. And if you're doing really heavy computing, then you're going to need 32. Just buy a gaming computer. Go borrow your kids or your grandkids' computer.
There you go.
Yeah, 8 gig is really not enough RAM memory. I have a 20 gig and I never had an issue, so 20 gig is.
And I guess the other question is, are you using mostly databases or just flat files to pull into Power BI? So when you're actually building your client-side ETL, that's one of the questions that I would have interest in, because I use a lot of databases.
For me, my customers all hold on. For me, my customers all have different databases, and I mean, I plug into Oracle and I plug into everything, and it's really awesome. So no, it's not a problem. Power BI is very versatile as far as importing data from different places. It's like really crazy. So don't think about Excel and entering a CSV or whatever. Like if you can get it from a database and plug it in directly, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. I pull databases and mix them with Excel flat files. Don't have any issues with them coming from different servers, and that it's not an issue. Again, it's just, I think it's mostly RAM. If you've got enough RAM in that machine. I've always, I work in IT. Well, I always tell them, put in as much as you can afford. It's as simple as that. It's a simple step right there. Solves 90% of your problems.
Yeah, just to round that off, Peter. Yeah, I've used both, individually in combination. I mean, Power BI is fantastic. I mean, they've done a great job on that side of things, making it pretty seamless to do either or. The only sort of decision you need to make, especially if you're hitting databases, is how much of the database do you want to bring into your model. And so that's where you need to just decide, okay, maybe there's some SQL that we can write, or maybe there's just a way to extract, the key information that you need, rather than just downloading the whole thing. Because that's where you can get into a little bit of trouble if you're having to download these huge databases with 40 different columns, millions of different rows. You want to be optimizing things a bit more before you get them into Power BI. So that's where sort of writing SQL or getting the right subset of information is really important.
Yeah, correct. Do yourself a little SQL, really SQL of what you need to enter into Power BI, and this is awesome. You can do yourself a view or whatever, and just enter the stuff that you need.
Yeah.
Right. So you store, but you'd have to write the view on the database side.
Yes, but you'll clean it up before you enter it in Power BI. So once it's in Power BI, it's already cleaned up. You don't need to mess around with it. So you might as well do it before, and then fix the other stuff and concentrate on the other important stuff later on.
You can write SQL code inside of the query editor though, Peter, if you want to bring out just a subset. The editor allows you, like if you're connecting to say Oracle or Azure, you can actually import some SQL code that you might in a client engagement I did. I'm not a SQL expert, so the database manager wrote the SQL, tested it out, and then once they had the right data extract that we needed, then passed the SQL code over to me. I put it in the Power BI model, and then I had that subset of information in Power BI.
Exactly. That's the way you do it, Sam. By the way, this is the way you do it.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. I think we might, if it's okay, we might round off because we've gone for a good hour now. Good discussion though. Great discussion. This is exactly what the happy hours are all about, and we have them every week. Maybe we might have a bit of a break over Christmas because I plan on going on holiday for a bit. But other than that, we'll be back on and doing them each and every week. It's good. It's good to get a good conversation and in a more casual setting. So it's great.
It is.
Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
See you next Monday.